The Calgary Flames have had their fair share of injuries so far this season, and the news keeps getting worse and worse as one of the best stories in the NHL this season, Mr. Costco Kirkland, will be out for the rest of the season. Absolutely brutal news for a man that has worked so hard to get to the NHL. Plus, the rosters for the Four Nations Cup have been revealed, and there are some major implications for this Flames team. We're going to dive in and kind of react to some of those rosters because it should be very fun. But before we get into that, I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, but let's start with the bad news before we get into the more fun stuff and talk about how Kirkland is done for the year. And it kind of came unexpectedly. At first, people weren't really sure if it was going to be a major injury when he left a couple of games ago. Then it kind of seemed like, hey, maybe he can get a quick little fix up and he'll be fine. But it has been revealed today, whoa, little spoiler there, that Justin Kirkland is out for the remainder of this season with a torn ACL, which I believe he did get surgery to repair that torn ACL. But of course, it's the recovery time that takes the longest, and he will be done for this season, which really isn't great news for himself. Obviously, I do hope he can make it back to the NHL one day, but it's already hard enough to recover and come back from such a severe injury like an ACL one, and especially for a guy who, barely even made it to the NHL. I really do hope the best for him and hope we'll see him in a Calgary Flames uniform again. I really hope that was not the last game we saw him, and that would be a terrible way to go out. Now, if we take a quick look, I'm sorry that I had to flip it sideways. It's the only way it really made sense, but the way that this becomes massive implications for the Flames organization is who gets the next chance. So we already saw Walker Duehr and Jacob Pelche come up, of course, but if you just tilt your head to the side a little bit here, you can read some of the other names that may see an opportunity now that we have another Flame out for the year. So Kirkland and Mantha obviously are the two. We've seen certain players come up at different times. We already know Adam Klapka is definitely going to see another opportunity this season, but here are 5 other guys who positionally it makes sense. So Kirkland is a center, but has also played on the wing for the Flames. So here's some other ones. Rory Cairns. I know a lot of people want to see him come up. Leading scorer of the Wranglers right now, definitely deserves a shot at the NHL this season. He has been lights out. We've spoken about it a little bit that maybe it's more valuable for him right now to be playing at a first center kind of vibe in the AHL compared to a fourth line center in the NHL, but still, good opportunity for him if it does arise. Dryden Hunt, who we've seen a couple times over the past few seasons ever since he got traded over from Toronto, he definitely will probably get an opportunity at some point this season, especially if certain players start to misperform, and who knows how much the Flames actually want to keep Pelche up and Duehr up at the NHL level this season. Clark Bishop, another guy who has been going crazy. I think he's not as likely as those first two. Same with the next man, William Stromgren, who was really hot to end last season with the Wranglers, has been pretty dang good this season. Maybe he'll get a crack with the Flames this year. And then Sam Morton, a guy who a lot of people would like to see. I see him more coming up towards, kind of the last 10 games this season, depending on where the Flames are in the standings kind of thing. If the Flames are out of the playoff picture, definitely expect, a Stromgren and a Morton to kind of come up. But either way, those are kind of the next guys up. So it does have some big implications, especially for these guys if they are to get an opportunity at the NHL level. But let's get into the fun part and talk about the Four Nations face-off, which it's kind of, I think, the first time we've really spoken about it on the channel. So I love to see what you guys say, of course, in the comment section as the Flames Digest family, as this beautiful community. So for those that don't know, the Four Nations tournament is a tournament that is scheduled for February 12th to 20th at the Bell Center in Montreal and TD Garden in Boston. And the 4 teams competing are the national teams of Canada, USA, Sweden, and Finland. So the top 2 dogs in North America and the top 2 dogs in Scandinavia. If you count Finland as Scandinavia, I know some people don't. But either way, this will be the first time NHL players will compete in an international best-on-best tournament since the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. So it's been almost a decade since we've seen the best on best play as nations. In June, all 4 teams each selected their first 6 players to the roster. Now teams have rounded up their 23-man rosters. And of course, we got to talk about the Flames, or should I say Flame, that made these rosters. So that man is, of course, Rasmus Andersson, made Team Sweden. Congratulations to him, of course. Sweden is always a bit of a wagon. I know they kind of have a rivalry with Canada, but they always seem to be that team that, Canadians cheer for once Canada is out kind of thing. Because I know Canadians wouldn't cheer for America. They would never cheer for Russia. Obviously, they're not competing, and usually don't cheer for Finland either. And I apologize already. I know we have a lot of American viewers, a lot of Americans in the community, but just from a bias standpoint, the Flames are a team in Canada. I'm based in Canada. We're going to focus more on as though we're all cheering for Canada kind of thing. That being said, the American team looks absolutely disgusting. But Rasmus Andersson makes Team Sweden as he's deserved it. What a season he has had so far. Scored once again last night. Very deserving spot here. If we head over here now, we get a good quote from him saying, "I couldn't be more happy and proud that I made the team. I'm really looking forward to this tournament. Raz can't wait to represent Sweden at the Four Nations face off." And it should be super fun to watch him. I'm sure a lot of people will be cheering for Sweden within the Sea of Red just because he is the lone Flame, which does, of course, mean if we take a look at the entire Swedish roster here, there's one man missing who a lot of Flames fans were hoping would be on the team, but not a huge surprise that he didn't make it. And that, of course, is our captain, Michael Backlund. So obviously Sweden went for more of a skilled lineup, a scoring lineup, compared to having Backlund on the team, who obviously can score at certain times, but definitely would have been more of a leadership kind of guy. Other than that, you wouldn't really expect any Swedes from the Flames to make it otherwise. So that was Team Sweden. I'm not even going to show Team Finland because it really has no relevance, oh my goodness, to the Flames, because we don't really have any major Finns anymore. Quick note though, Juuso Välimäki somehow made that team. No idea how. That's one of the few former Flames that is actually in this tournament, which is kind of funny. If we get into Team America, like I said before, their team looks really, really good. Amazing forwards. That's obviously not how the lines are going to shake up. The top line wouldn't have Brock Nelson on it. I think we all know that. And JT Miller, interesting what's going on with him in Vancouver, but you would expect him to be in there. Great defense. And the one thing I want to take note of again is there are quite a few former Flames on Team America. So obviously, if you look at the defense, Noah Hannafin made the team. Not a huge surprise for him to be there, but interesting pick. We know what he's like as a player, of course. Then you have Matthew Tkachuk. Obviously, no shock he's in there. Again, those lines are a little bit skewed. I'm pretty sure the rumor is that Tkachuk will play on the wing with Matthews in the middle, which would be one of the most fun lines I could possibly think of. So yeah, we have Tkachuk, we have Hannafin, we have Adam Fox, if you count him as a former Flame, obviously never played a game with us, but was property. And a kind of snub, I guess. I mean, America does have the best goalies out of any nation. I mean, Russia's in there too, but they're obviously not competing in the tournament for political reasons, of course. But Dustin Wolf, maybe, obviously not for this team, but potentially for the Olympics next year, depending on how the rest of this season goes. But he probably is the American goalie of the future, which is super duper cool. Now, if we get into the one major snub for the Flames of this tournament, it's looking at Team Canada. And once again, these aren't the actual lines. Like, it's not how this will line up. You'd expect, Crosby probably playing with McKinnon and Marchand. McDavid would be with Marner kind of thing. Another former Flame there, of course. Sam Bennett did make the Canadian roster. Braden Point from Calgary, but never played for the Flames, of course. Same thing with Cale Makar and Josh Morrissey in the defensive zone. But that's what I want to focus in on right here is this D core. So there were 7 defensemen selected. Travis Sanheim was the 7th, which already is a little bit interesting. No hate to Sanheim, but he's not exactly fantastic. And then Colton Parayko, I know he's big. I know that's what Canada has been built on. You think of the 2014 Olympics where they just shut down literally everyone and then Carey Price did the rest if need be. And Colton Parayko kind of fits that vibe. But come on, Colton Parayko peaked, 5 years ago? How is MacKenzie Weegar not on this team? Not only is he great offensively, but he's shown that he can be so good defensively with all those blocked shots last year. And this year, how is he not on this team above guys like Parayko and Sanheim? The other guys are kind of locks. Makar, Morrissey, Pietrangelo, Taves, and Theodore. Those all totally make sense. Canada's goalies, I gotta be honest, look absolutely terrible. Kind of interesting that there's no Logan Thompson or even a Kemper or anyone like that in this lineup. But either way, who do you think are the favorites? I mean, once again, I'll just reiterate this point real quick. The win column did it great. MacKenzie Weegar was snubbed not being on this team, but let me know, who do you think is the favorite going into this tournament? I gotta say, the most deep roster definitely looks like America right now, but we all know that when the lights shine, Canada really does play very, very well, aside from some World Junior stuff. But either way, let me know down below, who do you think will win this super fun tournament coming in February? And if there were any other snubs, why wasn't Huberdeau on Team Canada? Yikes. Let's wrap this up with the comment of the day. It comes from the video from earlier today. I did want to make 2 today just because there was a bunch of news, which is a little bit rare for a Wednesday. But I like this comment here from Travis, who said, "I was sad when they traded him. I loved Sean." Obviously referring to Sean Monahan. The video earlier today went over last night's game against Columbus, how emotional it was, and it really did suck to lose Sean Monahan. At the time, it made sense because it was going to make room for other people, but we all know that trade ended up being terrible. Sean Monahan has just become even more beloved in Calgary, and it does suck to lose him, but we are cheering him on and so glad that he is having a very good season over in Columbus. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe like we saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.